Here's a question for you. All this time you've been playing a game you didn't even know existed. You walk into rooms thinking conversations are about words, connections are about compatibility, and respect is earned through kindness. You've been operating under the illusion that if you're just genuine enough, smart enough, or helpful enough, people will naturally gravitate toward you. But here's the brutal truth. While you've been focused on what you're saying, everyone else has been reading something completely different. They're not listening to your words, they're measuring your frame. Frame is the invisible architecture that determines who leads and who follows in every single interaction you have. It's not your height, your money, or your looks, though those can influence it. It's not even your confidence, though that's closer to the mark. Frame is the unshakable internal reality you project that either commands respect or invites people to walk all over you. It's the difference between the guy who walks into a room and everyone unconsciously straightens up, and the guy who tries to join conversations only to watch them slowly dissolve around him. You've felt it your entire life without naming it. Remember that coworker who somehow gets away with showing up late, speaking his mind in meetings, and still getting promoted while you follow every rule and get passed over? He's not playing by different rules, he's playing a different game entirely. His frame says, I'm valuable and my time matters, while yours says, I'm grateful to be included. Remember that friend who can tease women and have them laugh, while the same joke from you would earn an eye roll? His frame communicates, I'm the prize, while yours broadcasts, please like me. The devastating part is that no one taught you this. Your parents told you to be nice. Your teachers rewarded compliance. Society sold you the lie that fairness exists and that good guys finish first if they just wait long enough. Meanwhile, every interaction you've had since childhood has been a frame battle, and you've been showing up unarmed. You've been trying to win chess while everyone else is playing poker, wondering why your logical moves keep getting you destroyed. Frame isn't something you put on like a costume. It's something you either possess or you do'n't. Something you either hold or you lose, moment by moment, interaction by interaction. It's tested every time someone challenges you, every time you're put on the spot, every time you have to make a decision under pressure. And hear us, what is going to change everything for you? Once you understand how frame actually works, you'll never look at another conversation, relationship, or social situation the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to recognize when your frame is being tested, how to hold it under pressure, and most importantly, how to build the kind of unshakable internal reality that makes people naturally defer to your leadership. You'll understand why some men command respect effortlessly while others beg for scraps of attention. And you'll never again wonder why your best intentions keep getting you the worst results. Picture this, you're at a house party and there's that one guy leaning against the kitchen counter. He's not the loudest person in the room, he's not performing for attention, but somehow conversations orbit around him. You're probably trying to contribute to conversations, laughing a little too hard at jokes, agreeing with opinions you don't really hold, constantly scanning the room to see if people are enjoying your company. You're working harder than he is, caring more than he does, yet somehow you feel invisible. The difference isn't charisma or social skills, it's frame. When someone challenges him, his first instinct isn't to defend or explain. It's to wonder why this person thinks they have the right to challenge him in the first place. When someone disrespects him, he doesn't get angry or upset. He simply withdraws his attention and energy because his frame says, people who disrespect me don't get access to me. His internal reality is, I belong here and my presence adds value. It's the operating system that runs your entire life. It determines whether you ask for that raise or wait for your boss to notice your hard work. Every time you compromise your values to avoid conflict, you weaken it. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you damage it. Every time you pretend to be someone you're not to gain acceptance, you're teaching your subconscious that the real you isn't worth respecting. And once your frame starts cracking, people sense it immediately. It decides whether you set boundaries with people who drain your energy or keep sacrificing yourself for their approval. It controls whether you pursue what you actually want or settle for what feels safe and acceptable. Yours is, I hope they let me stay. Women find excuses to refill their drinks near him. Other men unconsciously seek his approval with their stories. When he speaks, people listen. When he moves, people notice. He's not doing anything obvious, no peacocking, no try-hard behavior, yet his presence fills the space like gravity. Now picture yourself in that same kitchen. This is where most guys make their first critical mistake. They think frame is about acting confident, so they puff out their chests, speak louder, take up more space, and wonder why everyone sees right through them. Do you respect your own time? Do you have standards for how people treat you? Do you make decisions based on what you want or what you think others want you to want? Most men have spent so long seeking external validation that they've lost touch with their own internal compass. They've become human chameleons, shifting their personality based on who they're talking to, and wondering why no one takes them seriously. Fake confidence isn't frame, it's the opposite of frame. It's trying to convince others of something you don't believe yourself, and people can smell that desperation from across the room. Real frame doesn't announce itself because it doesn't need to. It simply exists. Frame is built from the inside out, not the outside in. It starts with how you see yourself when no one is watching. The guy at the party with natural frame isn't performing confidence. He is operating from a fundamentally different set of beliefs about himself and his place in the world. But here is what's going to blow your mind. Frame isn't just about how you carry yourself in social situations. Every single day, in ways both big and small, your frame is either being strengthened or eroded. The moment your frame cracks, vultures start circling. It is like blood in the water people unconsciously sense weakness and begin testing you in ways they never would if your frame was solid. Your coworker starts dumping extra work on your desk just this once. Your friend begins canceling plans at the last minute because something came up. They swing from doormat to asshole overnight, thinking this is what holding frame means. Strong frame says, I don't think this conversation is going anywhere productive, and walks away. Weak frame argues and explains why the person is wrong. Strong frame doesn't need to prove anything because it operates from a place of unshakable self-knowledge. The man with strong frame doesn't try to convince anyone of his value. He simply stops giving his valuable time and attention to people who do and appreciate it. But aggressive reactions are just another form of weak frame theory. Emotional responses that prove the other person got under your skin. You don't build frame by practicing comebacks or rehearsing confident body language. When there's no gap between your private self and your public self, when you're the same man alone in your apartment as you are in a boardroom or at a party, that's when your frame becomes unshakable. People sense this alignment immediately because it's so rare. Most people are walking contradictions, saying one thing while feeling another, and that internal dissonance creates weakness that others can feel, even if they can't name it. You build it by developing genuine self-respect, which means getting honest about the areas of your life where you've been settling, compromising, or lying to yourself. You build it by identifying your actual values, not the ones you think you should have, but the ones that feel true in your gut, and then aligning your actions with those values, regardless of what others think. Strong frame doesn't react, it responds. It doesn't defend, it simply maintains its position with quiet certainty. That woman you've been dating starts responding to your texts hours later, if at all. None of this is conscious or malicious, it's pure instinct. People naturally push against weak frames to see how much they can get away with. Here's what's happening in real time during these tests. Someone makes a small boundary violation, and your frame tells you this isn't okay, but your conditioned people-pleasing responses kick in. The coworker who got away with dumping work on you once will try it again, only this time with a tighter deadline. The friend who canceled last minute will start treating your time like it's worthless. The woman testing your boundaries will escalate until she finds your breaking point, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's unconsciously searching for a man who knows his own worth. You rationalize their behavior, make excuses for them, or worse, you blame yourself for being too sensitive. Maybe I'm overreacting, you think. They didn't mean anything by it. Meanwhile, your subconscious is cataloging this as evidence that you don't value yourself enough to defend your boundaries. The tragedy is that every time you fail these small tests, you're training people to disrespect you more. Most guys think the solution is to suddenly become aggressive or confrontational. Picture the difference. Weak frame says, "You can't talk to me like that." This is where the real work begins, and it's not what you think. Frame is ultimately about integrity in its truest sense, the alignment between who you are inside and how you show up in the world. The brutal reality is that most men spend their entire lives trying to manage other people's perceptions of them instead of building something worth perceiving. They're so focused on being liked that they forget to become likable. They're so worried about seeming confident that they never develop actual competence. They're so busy performing masculinity that they never cultivate the genuine strength that makes performance unnecessary. It's not that you stop caring what people think, it's that you care more about the work you're redoing, the person you're becoming, or the vision you're pursuing. They put on an act of indifference, trying to seem above it all, while secretly monitoring every reaction and keeping score of every slight. When you're genuinely excited about the book you're reading, the skill you're building, or the problem you're solving, that excitement becomes magnetic. People are drawn to passion and purpose because most people are sleepwalking through their lives, going through the motions without any real direction or drive. This isn't frame, it's cope. They're simply moving through the world with clear intention and genuine engagement, and others want to be part of that energy. When someone tries to make him feel small, it doesn't work because his sense of size comes from his own accomplishments and standards, not from external validation. When someone attempts to frame control him, they're attempting to pull him into their reality, but his reality is too solid and too compelling to abandon. They're not performing confidence. They're demonstrating competence. They're not trying to prove their worth. They're too busy creating value to worry about proving anything. Real indifference can't be performed because real indifference comes from having better things to focus on, not from trying to convince yourself that other people's opinions don't matter. The approval of others becomes nice to have rather than necessary to survive. Real frame comes from having something to protect that's more important than other people's approval. It comes from having standards that you won't compromise, goals that matter more than comfort, and values that don't shift based on who's in the room. Maybe you were deep in a project at work. Maybe you were learning a new skill. Maybe you were having an intense conversation about something you're passionate about. In those moments, did you worry about whether people liked you? Did you second-guess your words or monitor your body language? Of course not. You were too busy being yourself to perform being yourself. When you have skin in the game, when you're building something, creating something, moving towards something that actually matters to you, you naturally stop caring as much about the small social games that used to consume your energy. Think about the last time you were completely absorbed in something you cared about. That's what strong frame feels like from the inside. The absence of self-consciousness because you refocused on something bigger than your own insecurities. But here's where it gets dangerous for guys who are just waking up to this concept. They think they can fake this by pretending not to care. The shift happens when you start investing more energy in your own development than in managing your image. This is why guys with strong frame seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, relationships, and respect, They're not trying to attract anything. When someone challenges a man with strong frame, he doesn't feel the need to defend himself because he is not deriving his identity from that person as opinion. Here is what nobody tells you about the moment your frame solidifies. It is not triumphant or dramatic. There's no music swelling in the background, no sudden transformation where everyone treats you differently overnight. You stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned the right to an explanation. You begin saying no without elaborate justifications because no is a complete sentence when it comes from a place of self-respect. Most importantly, you stop trying to convince anyone of anything because you understand that people who are meant to be in your life will recognize your value without a sales pitch. Instead, it's quiet and internal shift from asking, "What do they think of me?" to asking, "What do I think of this?" Instead of avoiding it or escalating it, you start to see it as information. When someone disrespects you, your frame asks, "What is this person telling me about themselves?" rather than, "What did I do wrong?" You stop trying to change people who don't want to change. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you. You stop giving your power away to people who don't even know they're holding it. Your frame becomes your fortress, not because you're hiding from the world, but because you're finally secure enough to engage with it on your own terms. When someone tries to make you feel guilty, your frame recognizes the manipulation attempt instead of automatically assuming responsibility for their emotions. It is the moment you realize that your opinion of yourself is the only one that actually matters. The person who consistently tries to one-up you is revealing their own insecurity. The person who can never be happy for your success is showing you their own sense of scarcity. The person who always needs to be right is demonstrating their fragile ego. Once you see these patterns clearly, you stop taking other people's dysfunction personally, because you're the only one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. You start making decisions based on your own judgment rather than consensus. This shift terrifies people who are used to manipulating you through guilt, social pressure, or emotional drama. Your mother might accuse you of becoming selfish when you stop dropping everything to handle her emergencies. You've stopped enabling other people's inability to handle their own problems. The people who react with anger, manipulation, or guilt trips are revealing that they were never really your friends. They were energy vampires who needed you to stay weak so they could feel strong. Losing these people isn't a loss. It's a liberation that makes room for relationships based on mutual respect rather than codependency. You've stopped sacrificing your peace for other people's chaos. And while they frame this as selfishness, what is actually happening is that you finally being honest about what you want and what you willing to tolerate. Your boss might call you difficult when you start leaving at closing time, instead of staying late to fix other people's mistakes. Your friends might say you've changed when you stop being their free therapist or emotional dumping ground. They're right, you have changed. You've stopped being available for dysfunction. The people who truly belong in your life will respect these boundaries because they have their own. But the most profound change happens in how you handle conflict. You start to understand that how people treat you is always a reflection of how they see themselves, not how they see you. This is when your frame becomes truly unshakable, when you realize that other people's behavior is about them, not you.